In this video, we'll jump into the movie Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. We will discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and character. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production details and box office performance. Finally, we will provide reviews and share personal reaction. So let's get started. The Harry Potter spin-off movie Fantastic Beasts and where to find them took in as estimated $75 million at the domestic box office in its opening weekend, according to ProBoxOffice.com. An impressive figure for the first of five movies that will explore Newt Scamander and his adventure while collecting Fantastic Beasts. The movie had a smaller opening weekend than any of the Harry Potter movies. Warner Bros. Was next expecting it to make that kind of money. It tried the ninth best domestic opening weekend of 2026, matching Zootopia. It can be argued that the movie being released in over 4,000 screens domestically, with a reported production budget north of $180 million and a marketing budget of $150 million and only making $75 million is not necessarily a win. Warner Bros. Is looking at the global game with Fantastic Beasts, bringing in the $143 million internationally. It's likely the figure that WB rescued about the film's staying power. As expected, Fantastic Beasts swallowed out the market as new release and However are underperformed over the weekend. Doctor Strange came in the second place with $17.6 million. Trolls came in third with $17.5 million. As frankly predicted for 3.5 years, Fantastic Beasts has a note of guests on should go around. Fantastic Beasts, The Secret of the Dumbledore, the third chapter in its domestic box office debut. In pandemic time, those tickets were enough to lead this weekend box office charts and land on of the biggest North American opening in 2022. But it's also a sign that magic is in short supply for shaky Rowling's an ever-expanding wizarding world. Dinged by the mixed review and going aperture for prequel series star Scamander and Company. The Secret of the Dumbledore stands as a war as start for a Harry Potter adjacent movie. Its predecessor 2016 Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them launched to $74 million in North America, while the 2018 follow-up The Crimes of the Grindelwald bought to $62 million. The dimensioning for Fantastic Beasts is problematic because witchcraft and wizardry does not come cheap. Warner Bros. Shelled out $200 million to produce The Secret of Dumbledore, and the studio spent tens of millions more to promote the film to audiences across the globe. Like the franchise's earlier entries, The Secret of the Dumbledore will be reliant on the international box office to make money in its theatrical run. The first two Fantastic Beasts installment, which ended with the $814 million globally and $640 million globally, made nearly 75% of revenue from foreign sales. Fantastic Beasts Season 3 2 has been a bigger draw to overseas audiences since the film touched down in the several foreign markets last weekend. The Secret of Dumbledore has grossed $193 million globally to date, but the persistence of the COVID-19 has cut into box office in China, where 50% of movie theaters are closed, but Russia's invasion of Ukraine has meant that country is not granted across access to Hollywood film. Those limitations have been difficult for all blockbusters. Since the pandemic began in 2020, only 5 Hollywood movies have generated at least $500 million at the global box office. One film that has not had trouble smashing that benchmark is The Batman, which has been a bright spot for Warner Bros. This weekend, a comic book adventure starring Robert Pattinson has blown past $750 million worldwide. Harry Potter veteran David directed the third chapter in a prequel series, which follows the beloved Hogwarts professor Albus, but he's only one of a couple with secret as referenced in movie in title. In Fantastic Beasts 3, which was co-written by Rowling and another Potter alum circle of Albus and Scamander, a notable team-up to the Dark Wizard Grindelwald, replacing Johnny from igniting a wizarding rival war. The prequel saga, which predates the adventure of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, is intended to be a five-film franchise, but executives at Warner Bros. are waiting to see how The Secret of Dumbledore is received by the audiences before giving film 4 and 5 the green light. Fantastic Beasts 3 secured a B+ cinema score, the same grade as its predecessor. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them landed higher mark on a score from Moviejar. Off-screen Fantastic Space has been a controversy magnet. On top of declined box office ticket sale, the series has been subjected to slow back over Rowling, as well as domestic abuse allegation that forced her out of the franchise. And Miller, who has a key role in the latest film, was recently arrested for disorderly conduct and harassment. A temporary restraining order against the actor has been newly dropped. Moviegoers may not be aware of all the scandal plugging Fantastic Beasts internally at Warner Bros. It has become a headache, one that has become less and less pleasant to endure because the series is no longer minting money in its threatening run. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, however, is much more than a film franchise. The fantastic universe has lent itself to profitable theme park, live events and a Broadway play, as well as consumer product releases and successful home entertainment. This weekend's other major release, Sony R-rated faith-based drama Fed Fathers 2, flopped its domestic debut, earning only $5 million from 2705 North American theater. The film is stuck to fifth place, has earned to $8 million since opening on Wednesday. Mark Wahlberg, who stars in the film with Mel Gibson, produced Fathers 2, and uses his own money when COVID-19 tagged on extra cost to production. Gibson partner Hoto directed the film, which tells the story of boxer and priest Father Stuart Long and his inspiring journey from self-destruction to be redemption. Father Show is Gibson's first major studio movie since 2017's Daddy Home 2 from Paramount Pictures. Gibson has largely been working on smaller indies and straight to streaming action film with Lionsgate and Saban's film in a decade since making headline for anti-Semitic and racist theater. Several hotovers including Sonic the Hedgehog 2, The Lost City and Everything Everywhere all at once had more to celebrate over the weekend. After all, it's not a common occurrence that is a romantic comedy in The Lost City and an indie movie. In the number 2 spot, Barrymore's family friendly Sonic the Hedgehog 2 paid $3 million from 4 to 58 cinema, declining 58% in its second weekend of release. As Sonic 2 continued to charm audiences, the film has generated a strong $190 million in North America to date. Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum's romantic action adventure The Lost City took third place for the second weekend in a row. The movie, also from Paramount's Picture, collected $6.5 million in its fourth weekend in theater, bringing its domestic tally to $78 million. R24 channel overload. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Enjoyed other impressive run. Moving up to fourth place with $6.1 million from 2 to 20 screen. Directed by Dan Kevin and Daniels and starring Michael Yo in a multiverse action adventure comedy fantasy sci-fi mashup. The NG film has earned $17.6 million so far in 6th and 7th place, respectively. Morbius added $4.7 million from 3462 location, while Ambulance grabbed together $4 million from 3412 location. Morbius, which opened in theater earlier in April, has grossed $65 million to date. Ambulance, which debuted on the big screen last weekend, has since generated $15 million. J.K. Rowling's react to Rich's story is the kind of thing dreams are made of, from single mother on government assistant to unconscious queen of the literary world. Rowling has reached height far greater than most writers, most anyone really, could ever hope to achieve, and is worthy so. The success of Harry Potter is staggering to consider. through 7 books and 8 movies. Rowling overview the development of an empire that spread across the globe, crossing generational line to become a bona fide phenomenon. Along the way, she amazed her fortune, with some estimate putting her personal net worth around the $1 billion mark. In a new report from Variety, the latest entry from Rowling's Wizarding World has already taken in $500 million at the global box office, less than 2 weeks after its release. The numbers are impressive, but it just goes to prove how popular the wizard drawing will continue to be. In addition to speaking to the rich and wonderful mythology created by Rowling, according to Veronica, president of the International Distribution and Growth Initiatives for Warner Bros. The global response to Fantastic Beasts proved once again that the appeal of the wizard drawing world transcends languages and border. Visual forces stronghold to the holidays and well into the new year. Anticipations grew exponentially in the weeks leading up to the release of Fantastic Beasts. And now, with the film is theater, we are seeing the strong world of remote and repeat entertainers, which should carry the films through the holiday season and beyond. There is no doubt that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them will remain a serious contender for box office dominance as the holidays approach, even in the face of the opposition from Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is being released in a few weeks. The buzz for the Fantastic Beasts continue to grow, and it's a good chance that the film could benefit from the release of a new Star Wars. As families were shut out by sold-out shows, look for adults film to see instead. All of this is great news for WB, which recently confirmed that Fantastic Beasts will have 4 sequels that delve into the annals of wizard drawing world history. While it's doubtful that the films will top the $10 million in worldwide box office sales that Harry Potter reached, the series could potentially very easily take in a few billion altogether, especially if these numbers keep up. None of that should be surprising. However, for fans of Rowling's Wizard Drawing World, the richly imagined world is packed with characters and stories far beyond the scope of the original series. There is still plenty of more to tell us the Fantastic Beasts series move on. As great as these news might be for Rowling and her brand, it's even better for the fans, most of whom have clamored of more from this universe in the years since the last Harry Potter book and movies were released. Their wishes are granted, and rewards are now flowing in for everyone involved. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. J.K. Rowling's latest look at Harry Potter Wizarding World had a magical weekend at the box office, taking the number 1 spot and making $75 million. The Eddie Redmayne-led spin-off of the Harry Potter movies, which takes place in 1920 New York City, opened to less money than the previous Potter films, but received positive reviews. Coming in second place at the box office was Marvel's Doctor Strange, which made 17.7 million in its third weekend. The movie starring Benedict has tagged in the $571 million globally. Fox's Trolls Look took the third spot with $17.5 million and Paramount's Arrival plunked to fourth with $11.8 million. Films like Edge of Seventeen and Billy Land Long Half-Time Walks suffered at the box office. The latest installment in the magical world of Harry Potter has had a solid opening week in theatre. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, a prequel centering around Newt Scamander and the trip to New York City in 1926, has been widely well received by these critics and audiences alike. Although the film is quite a departure from the Harry Potter, it seems to be building a solid foundation for the 4 remaining movies in the new franchise. It seems that the world of J.K. Rowling has grown up along with the original fan of Harry Potter. After a domestic opening weekend that racked in the $75 million aired 25 in IMAX sales alone and $145 million overseas, the box office total for Fantastic Beasts have continued to rise impressively over Monday and Tuesday, bringing Warner Bros.' latest offering past the $170 million mark. As reported by Deadline, the magical movie starring Eddie Redmayne as newest Scamander brought in the further $12.5 million on Monday and $12 million on Tuesday. in overseas sales, bringing the current overseas box office total to $170 million. Domestically, the film topped the $90 million mark this week and is holding into that odd spot at the box office. This puts the film, which had a production budget of $180 million, at over $261 million worldwide within the first 5 days, as well as occupying the number one spot at the box office. The film has been critically well received, currently sitting at a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes with an audience's score of 85% and a 7.9% on IMDb. It's thus not surprising that the film is doing so well, with the massive popularity of the wizarding world of Harry Potter, as many are now doubling this particular cinematic universe behind it, and a huge marketing campaign to back that up. With the film still now open in Japan and China to very lucrative market, the numbers are only set to grow over Thanksgiving. All of which is great news for fans of Newt Scamander and his new magical friends. After there was little doubt that the film would do well, having the numbers confirm fan interest helped guarantee that the four-planned sequel will make it to be big screen. Although this is opening weekend has not broken many record, it's comparable to opening weekend for previous Harry Potter installment and has earned a higher weekend multiplier and Thursday to weekends percentage than some of the most recent Harry Potter offering. Overall, this is a solid start to the newest franchise, and any concerned fans can breathe a sigh of relief. There are, of course, always some concern with the launch of a new franchise. While Fantastic Beasts has been performing constantly with previous Harry Potter movie, the studio may have been aiming for a bigger opening weekend, especially taking into account inflation and increased popularity of IMAX and 3D. As a first-in franchise, there is also likely to be a draw between the first and second film takes as audiences who were merely curious about the first shows, now to return for the second. The reaction to the size of this new franchise got mixed reaction, and although Newt Scamander will not be the lead in all four remaining films, some still feel that a five-part series may be a little too ambitious. Reaction to Fantastic Beasts 2 will obviously have to wait until the film comes out in 2018. However, so far now we can sit back and enjoy this fantastic box office news. The Harry Potter spin-off stars Eddie Redmayne, the Jury of the Everything, and set in the world of Hogwarts, tells an entirely different story. There is no appearance from a certain best-spectacled wizard. The relative novelty of the characters and the 5 years absence since the past Potter film has meant that Warner Bros. Has had to be reintroduced the project to audiences. That's why the pictures $169 million kickoff of Harry Potter and Deadly Hallows Part 2, the most recent film in the Wizarding franchise. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling wrote his screenplay for the film, who claimed several previous Potter adventures. Returns as the director to oversees a cast that include Catherine Ezra Miller. The film centers on Newt Scamander, an author of magical textbook, who ventured to 1920 New York in order to discover supernatural creatures. Fantastic Beasts were to find from open domestically on November, which should position it nicely to take advantage of Thanksgiving holiday the following week. The film scored a release in China on November 25, which should add tens of millions to its box office revenue. China is the world's second largest film market. The studio has confidence in the series. Warner Bros. Has already announced that it plans to make the film in the Fantastic Beasts series. It's also possible that the opening weekend box office projection will rise as the ad campaign kicks into full force and the reviews hit. There is no appearances from a certain best actors wizard. The relative novelty of the characters and the 5 years absence since the past Potter film has meant that Warner Bros. Has had to reintroduce the project to the audiences. That's why the picture's openings pale in comparison to the 169 million takeoff of Harry Potter and the Dead Gallows. Part 2, the most recent film in the Wizarding franchise. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling wrote a screenplay for the film. David Yates, who helmed several previous Potter adventures, returned as a director to oversee the cast that includes Catherine Waterston, Ezra Miller, and Colin Farrell. The film centers on Newt Scamander an author of magical textbook, who ventured to 1920s New York in order to discover supernatural creatures, fantastic beasts and where to find them, opens domestically on November. We should opposition it Princess to take advantage of Thanksgiving holiday the following week.
Distractions, be it virgin food or Netflix's being, many are craving safe havens away from post-election fallout these days. But what we really need are the right distraction. Ones that lift spirit, engage mind, delight eyes, and don't pander to our best instinct, including those alarming posts, that terrible John social media feed, stirring up unease about the future. Perhaps a fable embellished with the fantasy trapping that spun off from the Harry Potter universe. Fun that touches upon. Okay, that does not sound like that much fun, does it? But what if I tell you that J.K. Rowling's fantastic beasts and where to find him, which dips into the dark side very regularly, is as his best friend it serves as a more exotic version of all those cute puppy and kittens antiques that fill your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. Instead of dogs sporting holiday attire or cats failing off kittens counter, you can go when a naughty reflux and a more jack built plate pops hybrid goes on a creme spree while greedy stuffing gobs of shiny objects such as coins and gems into the belly pouch. Or when a majestic giant descends to live in the wilds of Arizona, surprise his eagle-like wing, maybe a teeny leafy swig-like creature known as a bow truck, reminiscent of a shrunken Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, is more your style. There is also an amorous errand, a big bird cross between a hippo and an elephant, who causes a ruckus at a zoo. That is expensive, machinery, and more are able to fit into bus space of instantly traveling luggage in a movie since Mary Poppins' bottomless carpet bag is a welcome bonus. Besides, who better to conjure an entertaining yet relevant remedy for our nation's unsettled state of mind by trolling. It was her unfettered, fertile imagination that afforded movies just comfort and joy in the aftermath of 9/11, with Harry Potter and his Sorcerer's Stone, the first of 8 weeks screen installment based on her mega-selling book series about the exploit of a boy wizard. Yes, there was a monstrous, near unbeatable evil to all the franchise, but there was also abundant goodness, profound wisdom, and selfless destiny to be discovered amongst the wand-waving denizens of Hogwarts Academy of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Now, 15 years later, and at a moment too soon, arrives this ambitious first entry in a quainted, promising adventure, directed with more whimsical than usual by Harry Potter. Stalwart David Yates, Rowling's debut as a screenwriter, is inspired by a same-named catalog-style textbook that is supposed to be the work of a magizoologist and Hogwarts alum named Newt Scamander, an eccentric shy guy. Prediction: I expect this is engineering Columns Outbound, Guardians of the Endangered Magical Creature, might just become a spoke symbol of animal rescue group, even if he keeps on having to recapture them after they escape from his suitcase. Instead of contemporary academic setting with pubs and school kid, an imperious wizard professor, the focus is on Newt and his John Candy class relay sidekick and No-Maj Jacob, a one-time Tony winner and victim of too many John Brockham's who fulfill his duty as our villain. They soon join forces with a pair of sibling spellcaster, Plucky Tina, an ex-investigation for Magical Congress of the United States of America, and Flatheus Queenie, a man-reading flapper who bought voodoo with Manta from proud their magic-enabled kitchen skill. The action is rooted in a make-believe New York City during the Roaring Twenties, a period of the prosperity and pursuit, but also repression and intolerance that took such form as forbiddance and the rise of KK. These more frightening impulses of the era materialize in such metaphorical figures such as the fish hatting Carrie nation top, scolding all the way, who raised against the use of magic to her impossible young charges. Meanwhile, Colin Farrell glowers as the head of the security who noted a few scrapped up his sleeves and we learn there is a powerful dark wizard. Gellert Grindelwald has gone into hiding after causing chores in Europe. If that sounds like a lot of ground to cover, it is. There are plot points that rush. There are plot points that rush by without being fully explained, and characters who will hopefully become more fleshed out in later installment. As is all too common in blockbusters lately, violence primarily takes the form of the destruction of urban landscape. If you have seen one major metropolitan thoroughfare gutted like a fish and sibling fought with chunks of the asphalt rubble, you have seen them all. But the actual period recreation and production design of Jazz Age Big Apple is quite the accomplishment. I especially enjoy the into a hidden wizard friendly speakeasy with a sassy elfish blue singer where Newt attempts to strike a bargain with the establishment's owner, a shady goblin named Blade via motion capture by well-cast Ron Perlman. As with most complicated narrative, it is best to simply sit back at some point and enjoy the ride. You will quickly know if you feel the water magic, if you smile when a snippet of Hedwig, chimed in for Harry's Owl, is heard early on the soundtrack, or if you suddenly sit up when a name less strange is mentioned. As Focus Jacob says after learning, his memory of all the incredible fate he's witnessed will be erased for his own protection. I don't got the brain to make it up. However, Rowling definitely does. Let's hope subsequent chapters of the Fantastic Beasts story are even better. Despite the many intentionally wired things created for his Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, the strangest thing about the movie ultimately may be way in which the climax intended as a beautiful, miraculous and unexpected wind pulled out of the depth of the fate actually reveals that you might have been rooting for the bad guys all along. There are other problems with the scene in which Frank takes to the sick squires to see the cloud with a spell to make all the number mages forget everything they have just seen, of course. Logically, it's deeply flawed solution. Because if it's the rain that make the human forget everything, then what happened to those who are not caught in the rain? The glimpses of a family eating in the kitchen or a couple in the bathroom suggest that the two are affected somehow, but that can't be the case because Jacob, safe in the subway, keeps his memory for that moment. Jacob's flight and the reaction of New China and Queenie to the announcement that he too has to have his memory wiped clean of what happened is the closest Fantastic Beasts come to admitting that there is something very wrong with the status quo of 1920 magical America. It's played as a sad moment in a movie, the tragic note after the victory, albeit one leavened by subsequent event, and yet neither the movie nor its leading character can quite bring themselves to condemn what actually is being done to him. This should be that surprising, of course. The morality of wiping memories is something that's constantly ignored in science fiction. See Men in Blocks turning the idea into comedy, for example, but it's oddly upsetting to see Fantastic Beasts go all the way to the edge of though addressing the subject when faced with the reality of wiping the memory of their friend and sidekick, and then acquiesces to the status quo without exploration. The problem goes deeper than that, however. The stated reasons that magical society, as okay, we're playing with the mind of the countless unsuspecting victims to its become is near to say hidden from the rest of the world. This follows the larger mythology of the Harry Potter world. Where the magical society of churns of the century, the churns remains a secret to the wider nation. But Fantastic Beasts ramps up the promenade to new level, including friendships with no match or outlet. So fearful are the magicians of being discovered, and all interactions between the two races are closely monitored for fear of exposure. Archer's over explicitly addressed in A Fantastic Beast. The climax of the movie make it clear that magical society is so isolated that it has no claim or essentially brainwashing in an entire city to ensure that it remains separate and apart from the rest of the world. Or at least, when come to feel concerned, they will still go along with it. A society that demands that remember hide who they are, or face punishment and detect who they are allowed to interact with and befriend. One day reward one of the four people responsible for saving day by ensuring that he will never know what he's done. That this is what the movie wanted to maintain. Admittedly, and the antagonist, such as Series 1. In a movie's wars, he wanted to incite a race war that would likely eradicate humanity. A movie that seems reminiscent of Magneto from the X-Men movie. But there is no Professor Xavier in this movie preaching coexistence, tolerance, and understanding. Instead, the choice is between racial hatred or racial fear, making Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them feel like a curiosity. If uncomfortable movie to review in late 2016, but should not we demand better from our fictions? The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them ending raised several important questions about the franchise's future. The film is a prequel from the Harry Potter franchise, following the adventures of a named Newt Scamander as he traveled to New York for work and find himself embroiled in dangerous game of dark magic that poses a threat to the entire wizarding world. As is the first entry in a series, Fantastic Beasts ending a very open and ambitious, posing several questions that won't be answered until later in the story. The Fantastic Beasts movie takes place before Harry Potter, while audiences will already be familiar with several references to families and events. The first movie remains disconnected. That means audiences can't jump to the books to figure out the film's many mysterious and secret, but must watch the following entries to understand the true meaning of these films and the twists and turns they provide. Thankfully, several clues hidden throughout the Fantastic Beasts help to understand the film's ending and tease the future of this original narrative. The main questions left very open-ended in the Fantastic Beasts is the fate of greediness Barebone, one of the film's secondary antagonists. Graydon is a character full of twists and surprises, with the first big reveal being his status as an obscure. Throughout the story, it's revealed Graydon has a dark and complicated past that's manifested itself in the form of dark magic that's wreaking havoc on the city of New York. To Graydon's destructions, a group of Ashore from seemingly kill the boy after he loses control of his power. However, one shot suggests that Gradinus did not die after all following the battle that seemingly saw Gradinus dead. Newer spotted boys obscures floating into the distance. An earlier scene in the Fantastic Beasts established that an obscure cannot continue to live after their has dead, thus providing Gradinus must still be alive. Gradinus was never mentioned in Harry Potter. This job proves his life did not enter, and there is more in store for him. This raises several questions about where Cardinals has gone and what his role will be with Grindelwald. Alto Fantastic Beasts makes it very clear that Obscure are not to be mixed with. There is not much explanation about what they are. The only person who knows about this form of dark magic is Newt Scamander, whose keeping are captured obscure alongside his other creature. They are described as a manifestation of repression and neglect, created when a magical child is forced to repress their true self and ignore their emotions. Only Grandwald knows the truth about the greatness secret identity, but it's clear that Gradinus Sam with Mary Law caused him to be developed into an obsessor. Gradinus was always forced to be suppressed his ability, constantly abused and neglected his perfect house for an obscure to develop within. They are a manifestation of abuse and trauma, and in many ways, they are even a fictional representation of depression and mental health issue. Understanding an obscure as a visual portrayal of the darkness that Credence experienced in his childhood make him a more sympathetic character. Don't traditionally fit onto society, making them a fascinating addition to this universe. Also, there were four different actors to play Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. The first instance was mostly a secret. In the final act of Fantastic Beasts, Colin Farrell's elusive Partial's Graves is revealed to be Grandland in disguise. The powerful dark wizard is mentioned several times throughout the film. However, his appearance in the final act is a complete surprise that raises the story stakes and makes things infinitely more dangerous for the heroes. However, what happened to be real Graves is never been explained. The most likely answer is that Grantwell killed Graves before the film's plot began. He does not serve any larger importance to the story or appear in any of the Fantastic Beasts sequel. So he is just another of the Dark Wizard's victim. Grindelwald is the most dangerous wizard in the world at that point. So he would have no trouble taking Graves down. It's crucial to understand Grindelwald's method of intention. He shows us sympathy for his probable murder of Grave, not the assumption of his identity, which sets him up as formidable enemy. She is only mentioned briefly in the Fantastic Beasts, but Lita is among the few names Harry Potter fans recognizes. She is a new character in this fictional universe. Her surname instantly recalls memories of the Voldemort's follower. Bellatrix, through the Lestrange family, is a complicated. Lita may be a distant cousin of the Rodenfors. Little is shown about the character in this film, but her friendship relationship with future dad Ager raises suspicion. However, the fact that she can't be all bad and establishes that something is lingering. Later, Newt attended Hogwarts and seemingly developed a close bond, maybe even a romance with each other during their year together. Newt's hesitance to speak about Lita suggests that there is some complicated history between the pair, which will be explored in the future installment. It also raises questions about Newt's feeling for Tina and whether he will be distracted by the return of his old friend. But most importantly, the presence of a Lestrange immediately offers a bridge to connect the Fantastic Beasts so to the Harry Potter story. The first installment does a great job of setting up the future of this universe by introducing several new elements and posing a handful of exciting questions. Fantastic Beasts seem to be introduced these characters and possible storyline for their future, and the film does that well. Grandwald immediately makes an impression as the franchise's grand villain. Credin's survival raises many fascinating questions about his future, and introduction of the Obscure adds a whole new character to existing Harry Potter lore. While there is a plenty of exciting action and magical creature to occupy the surface level story, the ending of Fantastic Beasts is about the power of friendship and compassion. Grindelwald's biggest weakness is his inability for compensation, and that's exactly what allowed the hero to vanquish him. The ending of Fantastic Beasts proved that when focusing on interesting concepts like their relevance in reality, there is powerful meaning to be explored, no matter how much trauma and suppression are present in life. The right sport is always better than facing it alone. The instant that Percival Graves was exposed as Salad Grandwell set up the future, where he became the most dangerous wizard in the entire world. This movie showed how Cadence was an obscure social, which played into the revelation of who in really was he what he was meant to be known down the line. However, this film's ending mostly set up Scamander and his friend as important tools in the upcoming battle, which would add a familiar face in Albus in the next film. While fans began to fall out of love with the franchise after the second film, the first Fantastic Beasts movie was widely praised. It has a lower 74% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was still certified fresh before slowly dropping in the years since its release. The audience score sits at 79%, with one audience reviewer writing.
When it was first announcement, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Gem did not exactly sound like the greatest idea. After all, there were already 8 Harry Potter movies. That's a pretty good total for any franchise about a world of witchcraft and wizardry. But unfortunately, those Potter freaks made way too much money for Warner Brothers to leave them alone. They wanted more and convinced J.K. Rowling to deliver. So now we have not just a new movie set in the world of Harry Potter, but a spin-off that promises to be merely the first of 5 additional prequel movies in an entirely new franchise. It should be a product of the cold commercial calculation that causes iteration for merely existing. Thankfully, it's actually a pretty delightful blockbuster that sets a table for a series that should be worth watching. Thankfully, it's actually a pretty delightful blockbuster that sets the table for a series that should be worth watching. Not without its problem, this is a crass commercial product that makes crass commercialism look good. The flick shifts continent and time period, plopping audiences into 1920s New York where factions of witches and muggles sorry so much that terminology is different around this part is reaching an uncomfortable intensity. For the most part, if wizard drawing what exists in secret, but some like Smancha, Morton's nasty witch theater, don't take too kindly to magic folk and make those opinions rather vocal. Into this racy world plop Addie Redmayne, a bookish and awkward British wizard obsessed with the monster. He keeps them all in a magic trunk, which uncomfortably ends up open in confusion involving Jan Folger's No-Maj and unleashes some beasts into New York. Soon he ends up seeking a steely witch played by Catherine Wasserson and her sister Alison Subdole helping Anne to find him, giving viewer a gang of magical misfits to follow in a wizardo jazz is infused with magic. This is J.K. Rowling's first original screenplay, and she very much feels like the novelist of this new world. The film is mostly world building, with the plot thread of the episodes being pretty inconsequential. She seems more interested in developing character, environments, and the mythology than narrative. And fair enough, she is a pretty good at that. While the central foursome are certainly endearing enough to tag along with the especially Redmine, whose Glycan's goofy charm here are impressive as the countless effect. The best characters emerge from the edges. Swanja Morton's creepy witch hater and her abused son played by Ezra Miller have odors of villainy potential. Colin Farrell hunt around well as a witch detective, and there is a certain star reveal that will get some groan from overpressure, but it should play a well later on. The mixture of musical comedy bumbling in the forefront of the movie with the dark drama creeping in around the edges to lay track for sequel is not always smooth. At times you will wonder where this whole thing is going and why we even want to get there. Or maybe not. Fortunately, the movie is just beautifully constructed enough to prove over the narrative gaps with that other pure spectre. Given the billions brought in by Porter, the gang clearly had a linear, limitless budget to bring this prequel to life, and it sure looks like it. There are detailed costume, gorgeous set, and CGI enhanced magic as far as I can you see. It's all damn pretty. Directing duties fell into the capable hands of David Yates, who directed the final for Potter flick. So he flows back into this world like a pair of old slippers and keeps a sense of continuity. David Yates delivers another big sweeping, rousing trip to rolling land, but it's undeniable that it feels perhaps a little too similar to where this series has been before. I suppose that's the safety way to go with his span of picture. It's just too bad that no directors with the personality has been allowed to come in the shake thing of since Alfonso Cuarón made Sicily the best Harry Potter movie so many moons ago. Hopefully someone other than Jets will get a crack at one of the next four of these movies because Rowling's world offers so much room for cinematic imagination and are begging for someone to come in and cut loose. On the plus side, future movies in the Fantastic Beasts and where you find and franchise appear to actually be worth getting excited about, which is a nice surprise. There is a potential here for more than merely brand synergy and helpful. There's potential here for more than merely hand synergy. And whatever depth are to be found in this spin of prequel land will be cracked sooner rather than later. Those wishing to escape the ills of the contemporary world and disappear into a whimsical wizarding world when watching Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, as I wish when I went to see the Harry Potter spin-off film, mere days after your and a utterly demoralizing election, may be a little disappointed. The film directed by Harry Potter, with David Yates, and written by one other than Harry Potter Damer J.K. Rowling, indeed cute and whimsical, all the things we have come to associate with the brand, but it's also rifled with the political allegory, unafraid of grimace in a way that the previous Harry Potter film, which were about children, could not quite be. A suitcase full of magical beasts, a city divided by fear, and a young McGonagall exploring a new world. J.K. Rowling's first Harry Potter spin-off movie has all ingredients, so it's a success, thrilling, stunning, warm, and beauty. While Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them might not quite much, it's welcome return to an intricately drawn universe that bodes very well indeed for the next four best installment. Addie's Newt Scamander, a shy and awkward animal lover who is visiting New York for the first time as part of a world tour researching the titular book that is become a sad text in the Hogwarts many years later. It's a 1926 and New York is a city in turmoil as a destructive invisible force is causing extensive wreckage, blustering through road and building like a tornado. The No-Maj commentary is afraid and an extremist group led by Samantha Morton. The Draconian Martian has formed, calling for a second Salim and an anti-witchcraft. Is under pressure with the witches and wizards prohibited from owning magical creatures and forced to keep their power under wrap to protect the no-mages. Radical magical movements are also springing up to defend their right, making the city a melting pot of unease. And a wizarding world is a peril back in UK as well. We learn through a newsreel montage as Gellert Voldemort has begun to rise. Not helping things Scavenger accidentally unleashes a Niffler, a more like creature with the insatiable maybe to Nike money and jewelry. Catherine Weston is a enforcement. J.K. Rowling's screenplay deftly mixes child-friendly slapstick, more creatures escape. It's a bite of mess with breathing politics that are hugely relevant and unsurprisingly, it's gorgeous to look at. It's a bureaucratic wonderland of self-typing typewriters, gigantic dumb paces, and inside of nude briefcase, whole continent, worth of landscape. Redmine himself read channel the doctor at point as a gentle and benevolent essentially disparate to protect and understand all species. Watterson and is are very much is equal. Protagonists in their own right who we are convinced we will see again in later installment, while Fogler set in to steal the show. Despite his slightly scalpy introduction, he is the Mughal we into this new world, always full of wonder, but moral and sympathetic himself. He gives the funniest line, biggest laugh, wherein the gorgeous speaks easy, seen from a glass or two of giggle jaws. and elicit the strongest heart joke. On the dark side, are Colin Farrell and Ezra Miller as a disgruntled senior match and beaten down, no match respectively creating empathy. As introduced a parallel side to grow. As a part of the Potter universe, it works wonderfully. Swapping school jump was for a grown-up problem. My distance kids not fully initiated. Fact research and hint as first to come. Rowling's first go as a screenwriter showed at a talent she is and only increased anticipation for where she will lead us next. From the opening music to sweet final beat, it's right back in Rowling's world. Open the suitcase. We are coming in. J.K. Rowling's Wizard Drawing World is a broad roaring back to life on the big screen some 17 odd years before the event of the Bollywood beloved horror Patch Potter series in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The boy who lived in nowhere to be found, obviously, but added connection to that blockbuster franchise can be found in small doses, providing the faithful with added context and comfort. Aside from those necessarily connection, the film focuses its sight on being its own unique property. It's often joyous, wondrous, and rarely dull. The film is also funnier than one might expect from the outside, with humor found in some uncommon place. Plus, it's eye-popping and visually stunning. Fantastic Beasts check all the boxes for equal fantasy filmmaking, and then some. Fond feeling for the previous Rowling series might help bring people in the door, but on its own, that won't be enough to make them stick around for a reported 5 new film. But Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them were built as a prequel to be Potter's stories. It has enough stamina and richness to stand on its own, even if it's not quite shoulder to go shoulder with its legendary predecessor. It's well of a lot closer and consistent in quality than most spin-off managed to achieve. 1926 New York, a quiet and jittery young writer named Newt Scamander arrives fresh out the boat with a magical suitcase in tow. He is crossed the pond from England and sets into entry of his ship as a chance to find another magical beast to study. But his own get caught up trying to stop an outbreak of dark magic from spreading throughout the city. The Ministry of Magic does not care to listen to him, but a disgraced former agent named Tina seems some method of Newt's madness. Together they set out to find a few missing critics from Newt's suitcase of wonder and track down the source of the new threat facing the wizard-run universe. They bring along a Megal named Jacob and Tina's sister Queenie to assist in maintaining the delicate balance between the magic world and the regular world. While just into the role of hero, Neo's really more of a scientist and a curious mind wandering a big, fascinating universe in an eye-inspiring sequences set within the suitcase itself. Neo's large love and respect for all creatures shine brightly and honorable through his vision in interaction with them. He is not capturing these beasts to catch them, he helps them, learns from them, and cares for them. He documents his finding for a book he is writing. His goal is simply to increase understanding of the Tutor's fantastic beasts among us his fellow wizards, trying to open their mind to acceptance and seed for fear. He is not the toughest guy, but he might be the most morally upstanding of the bunch. This is the first original screenplay penned solely by J.K. Rowling and Archie Care. Inventiveness and surprises we are used to reading in her books are visibly represented on the big screen. Most audiences are familiar with the Harry Potter character before the first movie was released, allowing for an easier transition into this world of witchcraft and wizardry. The characters in Fantastic Beasts are all new and in a foreign setting, yet they still manage to make an indelible impression. They are each well rounded, instantly defined, and unmistakably identifiable. Rowling remains a master of ensembles character adventure stories. Oscar winner Addy makes Newt Scamander an unchanging protagonist, a hero propelled by the unbounded wonder in his mind and genuine kindness in his heart. Neither actor nor character seemed to be taking things too seriously, and his levity helped elevate some at a moment that might otherwise drown under a sea of VFX. Scamger at times seemed mischievous but without malevolence, as understated as Regime's performances. His Newt is a still live wire of character to kick off a potential new classic franchise. As Newt's New Americans, which friend Tina, Catherine Wesson is a perhaps the breakout star of the film, previously known as a stand-on starlight from Inherent Vice and a strange ex-lover of the eponymous Steve Job. She will have no trouble enchanting wider audiences after Fantastic Beasts. Jan Folger as a non-regular human is a hopeless sad stag before an encounter with Newt bring out the adventure in him. The actor gives a likable performance that earn its genius sake when Jacob reaches the end of his arc. Other supporting players, including Colin Farrell, Ezra Miller, and Samantha Morton, are each equally effective. Miller is a particular given more than one chance to such his emotional musical. Director David Yates helmed the final four film in a Harry Potter franchise, and his familiarity with the mood, tone, and visual design of this world immensely helped forge a smooth transition into the life of this new character. He guides the action with a steady hand and expert complete control in all technical areas. Fantastic Beasts is as proficiently produced as any of the Potter films. The beasts themselves are brought to life thanks to detailed CGI and some spot on green screen interactions with the actor mastered this art after five films in a rolling world. The larger-than-life beings are bound to endear themselves to younger audiences while adding a splash of color and vibrancy that help viewers separate from a handful of darker, scarier moments that proper the story, the production design and visual effect seamlessly combine to create an enriched, immersive world. It is unlikable that he uncovered with the want to dip their doors back into universes that they don't embarrass the first time around. If someone had 8 feature films to try it out beforehand and he could not get into them, that feeling probably is not going to change here. But for the franchise and a film that it is. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is an amazing place to start for a newcomer. Knowledge of the Potter series enhances some aspect of the film but is far from mystical in enjoying it for the delightful adventure that it is. Fans of J.K. Rowling and all that spring from her limitless imagination and grant you to believe happy. Aside from those necessary connections, the film focuses its side on being its own unique property. It's often joyous, wondrous, and rarely dull. The film is also funnier than one might expect from the outset, with humor found in some uncommon places. Magic has come to America. WB's latest wizard drawing the franchise. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Enter uncharted territory as its main character. Newt Scamander make his way from England to the New World. If any of this sound unfamiliar, you have come to the right place. Building up to the fall release of the new installment, set 70 years before the series we know and love, WB and J.K. Rowling have released a great deal of information about the expanding universe of Harry Potter. To this effort, Rowling released a short story series titled History of Magic in North America. Before there were the Harry Potter movies, she had already painstakingly built a world of her character, down to the last detail. This time there was only the Salim Fantastic Beasts charity textbook, so she followed the years old idiom, built it and they will come. Going through the short stories and impressive marketing material, we have come up with a list of helpful points to help set up the context of this new story and the artist behind it. Here are 30 things you need to know about the world of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Every felt like the Harry Potter films simply did not understand aspect of the book they were adapted from. Well, good news, J.K. Rowling has stepped down for his new installment, taking over the screenwriting. judges from the staff club. Horror 7 of 8 entries in the original film series. This is a bold step forward of the author, who is in the past has continued to take a backseat in the filmmaking process. The change of adapting to the screenwriting format is a significant one, but if anyone is up to it, Rowling is she was always been an incredible visual writer, and the idea of her doing more directly involved in crafting the images of a film within her visual drawing sandbox is extremely exciting. Hopefully, she brings the same fresh approach to filmmaking that she does to her books. If so, we may be in for one of our best magical adventure yet. We are soon to be acquainted the whole new world and set of characters. Those working behind the camera are not changing as much. The change of adapting to the screenwriting format is a significant one, but if everyone is up to it, Rowling is. She has always been an incredible visual writer, and the idea of her being going more directly involved in crafting the images of film within her visiting sandbags is extremely exciting. Hopefully, she brings the same fresh approach to filmmaking that she does to her book. If so, we may be in for one of our best magical adventure yet. We are soon to be acquainted with a whole new world and set of characters. Those working behind the camera are not changing as much. Long-term producers David Hyman remains on board to steer the franchise, while director David Yates will be adding on to his total of 4 Harry Potter films. For better or worse, this is almost certainly assure that the new films are not going to make any radical change to the tone or style of the previous one. Since that Leave Hollows Part 2, Hyman has produced the blockbuster Spectral Gravity and the family-friendly Paddington, among a variety of TV movies. While Chats has been relatively quiet with just a TV pilot and the yet to be released Adventure from the Legend of Tarzan. Hyman has spoken of the upcoming Fantastic Beasts movie as being more similar in style to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which was actually directed by Mike Nerval. More specifically, he described it as a sharing certain element of comedy and quirkiness accompanied by Ya's approach of the grounding. This moment naturally in the story, based on the trailer. We are in for quite a bit of drama as well. So it will be interesting to see how it is to strike that balance. Either where it's clearly power to be at WB Blair in the tried and tested duo of Hyman and Yates. We will soon see if the audiences agree. A significant draw to the original Harry Potter film, where the series' main actor, young and old. Audiences were able to grow with Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint, and their familiarity drove audiences and assume that it is not even mentioning the legendary older actor. The franchise recruited such as Maggie Smith, Gary Oldman, and Rolf Verendes, just to name a few. It seemed like there was not star actor too famous or well regarded for the films could not land. The question that remains will the new film and possible future installment reach that incredible standard. It might not match the Harry Potter film. The cast of Fantastic Beasts is definitely nothing to turn your nose at. A struck gold with its casting of the incredible talented Oscar winner Eddie Redmayne as the main character Newt Scamander. He is a very strong choice to carry the franchise forward. Joining him are the equally well recorded likes of Colin Farrell, Ron Perlman, John Voight, and Ezra Miller, just to name a few. Following the trend of the earlier series, the cast also includes successful but lesser known actors such as Catherine Waterston, Alison Sudol, Dan Fogler, and German Fojo. Tardies are described in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them book. Many die-hard Harry Potter fans themselves might be scratching their head over who our new protagonist is. thankfully giving however by revisiting the book and reading the information released so far by the film. We can get a good idea of new summer's commentaries. He is certainly grounded in the original series, as the titular book was a required netbook of all Hogwarts students, and he is a famously known figure in that world. Scavenger's love for magical creatures was developed early on, as he was strongly influenced by his mother breeding of hippogriff. He attended Hogwarts as a half-elf before joining the Ministry of Magic Department for the regulation and control of magical creatures. First in the office for house, elf relocation, and then the beast division. He was later commissioned by Obscure Books to write a book about magical creatures, and he traveled the world gathering and documenting these beasts. After completing his travel, he came to New York before returning home. It is great that we join him on his adventure. There was been much talk about the wizard drawing while coming to America. The truth is that the film's production itself will not take a step outside of the UK. Most of their work will be done at Warner Bros. Leeson studies in Sturgis, England, and the only published non-shooting location outside of the studios as the George Hall in Liverpool. While it might be a nice added touch to Lee's film in a scene or two in America, WB seems to be more comfortable keeping the franchise running in England, since this is a period film. Traditionally, the sets would have been built anyway rather than using pre-existing locations. So it could be argued that the Kevin country it films in matter less. Films are often shot in countries other than the ones they are supposed to be taking place in. A recent example being the Great Gatsby, that made the decision to shoot in the iconic New York Hotel in Australia. The film had its fault. The production design and location certainly was not one of them. The visual were stunning, so fear not. Fantastic Beasts similarly has a stellar team of artists. Todd Craig, production designer of the entire Harry Potter series, is back and the sets from what can be seen so far look stunning. Quality aside, it will be interesting to find out whether or not visually this film will be visually distinctive from the Potter film, since it seemed they are staying in their wheelhouse. Wizards know of the new world long before. Christopher Columbus apparently, in History of Magic in North America, 14th century, 17th century. Rowling tells us about the Native American and those in Europe and share were in contact with them prior to the colonies. No different them in Europe. They were all magical families, and also wizards born into non-magical families. Rowling says that many native wizards are even expected or even held in high regard, while others were cast aside as being cursed. A notable difference is that, unlike European, Native Americans did not use wand to reproduce magic. Some notable witches and wizards were known for their healing, hunting, plant, and animal magic. Also, there were a number of animagi in their communities. There were legends called skinwalker, who could transform into animal form and were believed to be evil magicians in truth. Most had to use their power to avoid persecution. It will be interesting to see if how Native American will impact the Fantastic Beasts story. So far, this has been the most controversial addition to the Harry Potter universe by Rowling. Some felt that their additions came off as cultural appropriation. It's a bit early to make assumptions about how the Native American will be depicted in this new franchise, so we are going to jumping the gun on this one. Every great story needs a villain. The Harry Potter series, Harry Dietators and Fantastic Beasts will have sorcerer. That is described by Rowling in the 7th-8th century and beyond as the most dangerous problem facing newly added visitors to America. Early on the colonies, there was not well organized policing or law enforcement of the magical community. So sorcerers were born from opportunity. They were Mercenaries who did not just target criminals, but also anyone worth gold, brutal and cruel. The group was formed of many different foreign nationals. These sources had a lot of authority and used every tool in that book to advance their goal. Lustful for power, they would track, visit, and know matches, world for mutual alike. Rowling described them as enjoying bloodshed and torture, and willing to pass off on non-magical people as wizards in order to collect a reward. To sum up, these sources sound to a whole lot like that Eaters of the New World. Only their motives don't come from the ideology of racial purity, but from greed. The Salim's trial have been incorporated into Rowling's world, and they apparently changed America for witches and wizards forever. Firstly, it caused the population to dwindle, and not just because of the loss of life. It led some to either flee or not immigrate to the country in the first place. Because of this, Rowling writers, there were far fewer magical families, pure blood families informed of the ongoing in the New World. Naturally chose not to come. Because of this, there was instead a higher percentage of witches. Given that these events took place in 1969 to 1693, the questions remain how this will affect the world, or even saw the Fantastic Beasts, which takes place in 1926. Based on these events, we can assume that the wizarding community will be more diverse than it has been in the past, albeit significantly smaller in size. Also, the battle lines that are drawn among us wizards and between wizards and muggles will have their roots here. One of the most significant reactions to the Salem witches trial was the creation of the Magical Congress of the United States of America in 1693. Rowling noted this as being the first public entity governing the wizarding community living among us, their non-magical neighbor. Basically, laws and regulations were created for daily life. Still, the first task was to find and put on trial sorcerers who betrayed their fellow witches and wizards. The punishment for some of the most heinous act was execution, interestingly enough. Some married into the no-match families where magical children were unfavored in their effort to avoid discovery. What Rowlings make sure to note though is this these sources made sure to pass on knowledge that magic is real. This explains why no mages are more aware of visiting folk than magicians usually are, and this is therefore greatly affect how the population is governed. That is an interesting difference from the original Harry Potter series and opens up a whole series of possibilities. It seems that non-magical character will hold for greater role in this franchise. Love can be troublesome thing. In this latest short story installment, Rowling tells us for how in the late 18th century, a young witch and student of wizarding school named 12 Traces fell in love with a non-magical man whose name was Barbon, where Dorcas did not know. Of course was that he was a descendant of sorcerers. She thought his interest in her magic, and therefore revealed information about international combination of wizard and their method of governing. Rowling continues told Dorcas went and set out to kill as many witches and wizards as he could. He even notified fellow nomads about the location of magical families. His campaign ended, however, when he mistook a group of nomads for MACO workers and attacked them. He was then arrested and locked away by local officials. Unfortunately, the damage was done. This all led to a 1990 instituting of rapid law created by then President Emily. Rapport strongly enforced segregation between the magical and non-magical communities. Under his legislation, there was to be befriending or marrying of no matches by wizard was not allowed, and the communication was to be limited to that was involved with daily tasks. By the time Fantastic Beasts roll around, wizards will have gone as underground as they have been more in the world. They will be fiercely protective of their privacy. Surely that will be a significant factor in setting the stake when a whole host of magical creatures are released in New York City, while witches and wizards lived in scarcity. This did not stop that from assimilating into society. They even took part in the World War I, adding their competitors, however, Rowling said. None of these efforts offend the regulation of the. In fact, the reserve remains as strong as ever. In the 1920s, among us other enforcement, but they continued to safely penalize those who broke international statutes of secrecy. Not only did they maintain this legislation, they continued to look for ways to further their goal of governing the wizarding community. This led to the creation of required van permit. Our witches and wizards were required to carry a van permit with them at all times. This also should keep up track of magical activity and identify the of crime by their van. There is also a strong comparison to be had between this requirement and those who argue for safer gun regulation in this country. The possible storyline that could arise from his comparison are endless. Will there be illegal van carrier? Will van permit have to keep van out of the wrong hand? Who enforces this requirement and how does it after crime on daily basis? Regardless of the answer to those questions, this issue will surely come up in upcoming film and should help make it more relatable for audiences. Sadly, Americans won't get their van from Ollivander's shop in Dragon's Alley. They will, however, to have a plethora of options. In 1920s, Wizarding America, J.K. Rowling described the four-grade van marker and deserved the new world. They seem to be as diverse and quickly as Ollivander, befitting their unique role in the wizarding world. First, there is a wolf of wand marker of the Agdisant. She is famous for her wand of intricate design, carrying Thunderbird tail feature. They are said to be very powerful but hard to master. Second, we have Jonker, a no-match born wizard, whose father was a cabinet maker. He is self-taught his wand typically have a mother of pearl inlay and Wimpus cat hair core. Thirdly is Tago Quenchena, who is known for this sleek, elegant and lengthy wand, whose core was made of the translucent spina from the back of the wide rivers mosses of Arkansas. Lastly, the new audience. To put it simply, the wand in this new franchise will all have characters as the original Harry Potter movie went on. Audiences could see the filmmakers get more elaborate with the wand design and taking great effort to make sure they relate to the individual character. A true gem of the history of magic in North America series is a brief description by Rowling of the Prohibition in 1920s. As Potter he is ready now. Fantastic Beasts are where to find them is the first of the planned five films prequel series, with this installment set in the 1926 New York. A bewitching local that looks like the white green cityscape of once upon a time in America have been sprinkled in fairy dust. Scavengers, red mine, overdoing nervous, the author of the tabular textbook that had introduced in the first movie.
Such beasts are banned in New York, where the magical community is presently keeping a low profile, and for good reason. Dark Wizard's Gellert Grindelwald has disappeared after wreaking havoc in Europe. A mysterious force is attacking New York, and no-match American English war miracle is being zealously stalked by the fanatical second Selmer, led by Mary Lou. This great scape draws the attention of Tina Goldstein, a former Auror who is now out of favor at a magical congress of the United States of America, and she is then reported to Director of Magical Security, Percival Graves to curry favor. What follows is a succession of glasses, slapstick set pieces and reveal, be it the hair shape and size of the various beasts, on show plot turns by characters' hidden motives. A couple of the certain pulls are predictable, and creatures certainly, frequently disappointment. sounding better on paper. An eagle dragon, bird snake, eye tiger, with a neck like a blowfish. The angel look in pixel. Only a mischievous penguin, hedgehog, and useless bird, picket, who might be baby Gro's cousin. Prematurely spelled beheading, but it's nothing here to quite saucer. That is like a giant spider egg or backpack, the hypogif in the Potter movies. Still, what fantastic beasts like in the Wonderment and almost make up for scare and subtext, scripted by J.K. Rowling herself and directed by David Yates, the man behind in the latter darker Potter. This is purely aimed at the kids who grew up reading and watching Harry Potter, which is to say adult. Julie Fortune make the monsters seem creepy. Its potent them include prejudice, intolerance, and repression. Presented here with enough force to be hit viewers straight between the eyes and leave scar in these dark days of Brexit and Trump. The second Selmers, meanwhile, are as unnerving as anything you will find in the cult movies like Martha, Mercy May, Marlene, and the Salesman. Come the closing credit. It's Mary Lowe's burning eyes and the covering, wiped body of her tormented crocodile. Credence, we need to talk about Gavis Ezra that are the takeaways, not a dissection Paul funnel that comes with even favor consequences that man have said. Overall, what has emerged from Rowling's sorting hat of ideas is not quite as fantastic as well as we hoped, but it is an exceedingly solid franchise opener that builds a new world with enough bridge to the established Potterverse to keep the devoted happy. The second installment we are promised will travel to the UK and Paris, and a grand plan coming to the fore of a young when he was opal from stepping into a play. We can also expect, at some point, to visit America's School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, while Spectre, Howard Virtue looms large. And to think people initially pondered how Harry's Slim textbook, which Rowling actually published in 2001, under the newest Scamander, could be stretched into one feature, let alone five. Turns out it's life's new suitcase, bewitched with an extension jar and promising extraordinary side. This first installment showcases just enough of them to make you sign up for the full expedition. First of all, on J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. You do know it does not feature Harry Potter, don't you? We are in different terrain here. Hogwarts is referred to be a couple of them. Our hero Newt Scamander was a pupil, but we are not in a Potter films. Yes, directed the last four of them. Right at the start, we notice along with his suitcase, whose contents are getting erased even as he sits on deck, waiting to dispatch. And our customer hall a suspicious official asked to have a look at it. Usually there is a special lever for new to the pool which says Mughal alert. So it all appeared that instant within. So new hits Iraq. The very mechanism of the Englishman abroad defended it well bred and engagingly memorism. Apparently was the only actor considered for the part on the basis that he is everyone's go-to English person right now, magical or otherwise. There is a particular brand of old Etonians, the other being Boris Johnson, who speechless in apparent insecurity, who signal differences by an upward glance which utterly disarms everyone. That man has that glance perfected, which is just as well, because he is so much trouble on account of the suitcase being a veritable ark of magical beasts, and those beasts have no business being in New York at all, especially not right now, not with the wars going on. There is trouble afoot, dark forces stuff, uncountable explosions that rip apart buildings. Small wonder. Then that Newt gets into trouble when he is Niffler, a cute little jugbill played pass with a penchant for precious metal, escape and run amok in the central bank. As luck would have it, it's spotted by keen-eyed witch Tina, who's anxious to get her job as a Auror at the Ministry of Magic back. But worse luck, Newt ends up involving a perfectly innocent Mughal in the careful, fair Jacob, who is in the bank just wanting capital to set up in a bakery. Normally, I would give a plot short shrift that brings on true character having a identical suitcase, but you forgive it because of the delicious mahim that follows. You can tell how fabulous this movie is going to be just by looking at the design. Era New York all Hamburg hats, flapper dresses, hard-nosed reporter, Fifth Avenue in its prime. So what is behind the attacks on a nice? Can it have anything to do with the second salesman? A frankly sinister cut of Witchfinder, led by the creepy Mary Leo, whose daughter Modesty, as played by Fat Wood Blackrobe, is heads of bread away from swigging her head around and showing the white of her eye. Will she be betrayed to be head of magical security? Graves or by terrifying yet vulnerable brother Gradness. Brilliant act by Ezra Miller, and has this nothing to do with the escape of Gellert Grindelwald from Europe, the genius who went over to the dark side. Of course, this being Rowling, there is a moral telltale. Well, several from Newt opting out to be Tina, the asserting of US rule preventing magical people marrying non-magical yep to the disruptive forces unleashed on the city, which may be the terrifying forces of repressed magical power, or maybe to do with the repressed sexuality. Yorka has fought a new wave Percival Graves, hanker to channel that disruptive forces of political land. Neologisms about incredulity address, while it can either be a metaphor from the atom bomb or for the rise of. It does not matter. The film has its all a cracking story, a morality tale, and a moment of ripple comedy. Newt's attempt to attract a honored magical beast on hate into his suitcase by moving suggestively like it's mad in the fabulous. So too is his pursuit of the rifle into a Fifth Avenue jeweler. And Catherine Bright Studios Dana has a brilliant fill in Alison's tutorial Bubby, Flirty Queenie. Plot 70 years before Harry Potter read his book in Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Wizard Newt Scamander's journeys through New York's secret magical community to locate and catch magical creature he accidentally set loose. It has been 5 years since the booming success of Harry Potter and Pretty Hollow, Part 2, but David Yates has finally returned to adapt another story from the wizarding world of J.K. Rowling. Instead of the story focusing on Harry Potter, however, it is instead centered on wizard Newt Scamander, who embarked on a magical adventure throughout New York's magical community. 70 years before Harry Potter read his textbook in Hogwarts, Scamander enters New York with an enchanted suitcase stock full of wondrous beasts and creatures from the wizard ring, while unfortunately some of them escape. The sets up our hero, he is known as Friend Jacob and talented with the Goldstein on an extraordinary and spellbinding mission. As in the case with the Moss sequel or in the case prequel, it was not as good as its predecessor. The Harry Potter films are indescribably wonderful. No series or film will ever be able to duplicate or mirror the true wonder that those 8 films presented to audiences. So I know that it would not be better than Harry Potter. But believe it or not, there are actually some aspects of this film that actually outdo those 8 magnificent films. The first of those aspects is the alluring visual effect that transport audiences into the mid of J.K. Rowling. The effect of the outweigh anything that the Harry Potter franchise has been able to be rendered because their sheer creativity and beauty takes the breath away from audiences. There is a zero doubt in my mind that this film's visual is going to be remote nominated for an Oscar. Another aspect of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2016 that I loved was Colin Farrell as Percival Graves. His character was tenacious, agile, and Queenie and Farrell did such a great job of bringing this character to life that he made me realize that he might just be the best actor to ever play a part in a J.K. Rowling's adaptations. Without spoiling anything, I can say that it's a plot twist near the films and credit that will shock and surprise his audiences. This scene was without a doubt my favorite part. I promise fans that they will enjoy this surprise because it is easily recognizable, unexpected, and inventive. I also really enjoy this film takes the time and effort to show how the magical and non-magical communities interact with each other while also showcasing the American magical community. The Harry Potter films slightly touched on magic interference with the real world, but it's never really delved into it and it certainly never featured the American magical community, so Fantastic Beasts beat Harry Potter on the that note. Although Fantastic Beasts did have those noteworthy qualities that charmed Harry Potter, I do not believe it is better than Harry Potter for following reason. At Man is Newt Scamander, a shy and awkward animal lover, who is visiting New York for the first time as part of world tour researching how the titular book that is to become a sad text is Hogwarts many years later. It's 1926 and New York is a city in turmoil as a destructive invisible force is causing eccentric wreckage, blasting through roads and buildings like a tornado. The No-Maj community is afraid and an extremist group led by Swancha Morton's Draconian has formed, calling for a second film and an end to witchcraft. Is under pressure with the witches and wizards prohibited from owning, not helping things Scamander accidentally unleashes a Niffler, a more like creature with invisible magic. J.K. Rowling's screenplay deftly mixes child-friendly classic. More creatures escape is a bite of mess with brewing politics that are hugely relevant and unsurprisingly is gorgeous to look at. It's a bureaucratic wonderland of self-tapping typewriter, geeknatic timepieces, and origami mic, while it tries like inside of news briefcase hold continue content word of the landscape. Redman himself read a channel, the doctor at point, as a gentle, benevolent, eccentric disparate, to protect and understand all species. Waterstone and Sojo are very much is equal. Protagonists in their own right who we are convinced we will see again in later installment, while Folgate returned to steal the show. Despite his slightly introduction, he smuggles eye view into this new world, always full of wonder but moral and sympathetic himself. He gets the funniest line, our biggest laugh, wherein the gorgeous speaks easy, seen after a glass or two of giggle juice, and electric the strongest heartwood. On the dark side are Colin Farrell and Ezra Miller, as a disgruntled senior match and beaten tone, no match respectively creating empathy as they introduce a parallel set to grow. As a part of the Potter universe, it works wonderfully. Swapping school charm was for grown-up problem. My distance is not fully initiated, packed with Easter eggs and hint at what's to come. A Rowling's first go as the screenwriter shows what a talent she is and only increases anticipation for who she will lead us next. From the opening music to the sweet final beat, it's a joy to be back in the Rowling's world. Open the suitcase, we are coming in. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling has more stories to tell about her wizarding world, unlike Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings before her. She is doing a prequel story and her first screenplay that takes place a decade before the boy who lived took on you know who. Set in 1926 New York City. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them follow soft-spoken, awkward Newt Scamander as he attempts to return all of the escaped magical creature to the zoo inside his briefcase. While the beasts are indeed fantastic, watching Newt and his new group of friends Round Jam of Just is not entertaining or compelling as Harry, Ron and Hermione's running around the Hogwarts. Newt has been sent with Dumbledore's blessing to research a textbook he is writing about different fantastic beasts. He is introverted and a bit clumsy, but he has an eagerness passion for wild and potentially dangerous creature, not unlike Hagrid. After running into disgrace, former air wizard Con China and Non-Maj Jacob, a series of death events forces them to stick together. A much too late addition to the group is mind-reading sister, Queenie, the highlight of the quartet, with her bright attitude, surgery voice, and a habit of poking into people's stuff. Newt and company get into the increasingly large amount of trouble with the American magical authority known as a while trying to round up the beast. An article a much darker, more dreary plot unfold as esteemed author Percival Graves looks into a magic-hating no-match family that includes a particularly troubled young man named Cadence, discusses the movie to suffer from tonal whiplash. As one woman Newt is performing a ridiculous matting dance to lure Reno with a head full of love back into his briefcase, and in next we witness child abuse. The blame does not fall on the actor or the script as much as it does the direction of four-time Harry Potter director David Yates. The Potter films gained a sense of visual stiffness when he entered the franchise with the Order of the Phoenix, and also he did manage to find his rhythm for the final two. One scene inside the Goldstein's apartment sees Queenie use magic so dinner prepare itself mid-air before sitting down on the table. Being the no-match in the group, Jacob is understandably astounded by what he is seeing. Yet he does nothing more than look in an eve. Flying plate Jacob's wide-eyed face. Soaring napkins Jacob's face. Floating straddle Jacob still making that same face. Not even adding in an exclamation. Floating straddle Jacob still making that same face. Not even adding in an exclamation of the disbelief. We are not impressed much by a special effect we have seen plenty of in the Potter films, and he is not exactly selling it. So the scene falls flat instead of feeling like a wondrous, storming step into the world of magic. Getting to see the magical side of New York City has its high point, but it also feels like the setting was not mine enough. We do get to traverse some strange place inside the headquarters, magically veiled inside a Walmart building, and there is a pissed off goblins around speakeasy where a performer sings a song while conjuring her own stage effect. The film does make good on its selling point by introducing a wide array of delightfully strange magical creatures. The best scene sees Newt giving Jacob a tour of the makeshift menagerie inside his enchanted suitcases. Everything from the snake bar to the bowfish trigger are exquisite rendered and teeming with the majesty wonder. Really, anytime the fantastic beasts are on screen, especially the thieving, too cute for words sniffer. The movie comes alive, the music's well, and you get that little kick of magic you expect from Rowling's Wizarding World. Sadly, then attention switches back to the characters, things go back to the feeling by dull. The two disparate plot lines eventually clung together, but the movie never establishes any real stake. Certainly nothing as frightful as the Dark Lord returning to power and killing the likable protagonist. So even a magical threat in danger, the city, is hard to get caught up in at all. By the time the movie ends, a few thread pique enough interest to want to see spend a couple hours inside the briefcase instead. While the crazy creatures are the highlight of the movie, they are not enough to recapture the magic of the Harry's adventure at Hogwarts. The culprit is a full acting style that does not allow the character to pop or the plot wishes to excel like they should. Fantastic Beasts and Where to be find them is find them but it won't exactly slip out you like into New York City's wizarding world.
We have needed cheering up more, taught on the society agape's level. Their films may be compromised by making one of its character an obnoxious rich New York chump, a charmless slum or do I mean grump, reliant on his father's money and nursing political ambitions. He's been mentioned in a furious president says someone surely not. That entertainment encounters J.K. Rowling has come storming back today. He is Newt is a connoisseur, scientist and a magic beast who is not far from the scarf sweater, whose spaceless Potter or beardless Grant. Redman's distinctively brightly voice even has something of the young, witty opens the likability of his screen presence and the sheer gangstery of movie making energy. He and the cast are giving us an early Christmas threat. Potter veterans David Yates that and Rowling has adapted the Hogwarts textbook, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, by one Newt Scamander. The first name is short for Newton, and nothing to do with the wishes ingredient. This was a fictional work of magical scholarship, first mentioned in the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and which Rowling herself wrote out and published in Aid of Comic Relief a couple of years later. So who was Scamander? Rowling gives us the answer by converting this aesthetic into a spectacular action-adventure about the origins of his book, set in New York City of the Power era, 70 or 80 years before Philosopher's Stone. Does that make it a prequel? Sort of. There are a few hints and allusions, including a name check for Dumbledore. It promised to be the first of series, and it would not be surprised me to learn that Rowling already has every detail sorted out of the entire saga in architectural detail, and that she got it straight in her mind before writing the first Potter. Fantastic Beasts is a rich, brochure, intricate, tilted. The donation unworthy Newt arrives in New York on the hunt for some era species, and just so happened to be carrying quite a few exotic species himself in his battered suitcase, with it worryingly insecure close-up. But the city in which he has just arrived has been threatened by some kind of dark, wild world of dark magic, smashing its way through street and building, which is called an obstacle. Draw Newt crosses calamity most evidently on arriving by creating a rumps in bank with his animal. And a quick of fat mean he forms the unluckiest of friendship with a No-Maj Jacob building performances from Dan Folger, an ex-soldier stuck in a factory job but nursing a big dream about opening his own bakery. But Newt, oversweet natured gentleman, amateur from across the pond, the US visits authorities and in particular their operative Tina Goldstein, who herself has issues with her superior. Tina finds herself giving to no protect Newt and Jacob and brings our two amigos back to the apartment. She shares with her telephotic sister Queenie, who gets the heart for Jacob. And might there also a spark between Newt and Tina. Meanwhile, creepy anti-witch gratuitous Mary Lou and her adopted son Credence appear to have a disquieting connection with top wizard Parcel Graves. It's very rolling universe, dense with fun, but always taking its own jeopardy very seriously and effortlessly making you do same. The Beast movie may actually make cheer Rowling's under discussed deputy role to be the hell. They also show that her universe with its exotic fauna is in the best way. A cousin to that of the George Lucas. There is a strange layer of seeing how her magic itself as potent as ever. Catherine Westland Patterson is great as Tina and perhaps gives the Rowling universe that it never quite had until now. A really strong young female lead who could tackle the bad guy on equal terms with the man, as well as having the job for romance. On my right was a scholar given to me by the seventh Harry Potter book. I was abroad at the time, at a language school. The book had just launched, and my Turkish roommate, French or corrections once, got a copy. I asked him if I could read it. I would finish it in a day. It would be great. He threw it my way. The corner landed in front on my breast, so now I have a scar. I think about that scar at least once a month. And then I think about Harry Potter. I like Harry Potter not as much as some people I know. I read all the books as they were released, and I saw 7 of the 8 movies. For whatever reasons, I never watched Deathly Hallow Part 2. I did not read the script for stage play. I do intend to see it when the inevitable come to Broadway. I knew that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was coming. The beginning of an expanded universe for the franchise. I did not follow it too closely because I always assumed that I would see it and did not feel like I needed to spoil it for myself. In 1920s New York City, miracles are called names or shortening of no magic. I mentioned this to a friend who said that sounded more offensive than Mughal. I disagreed. I think we are desensitized to be word a Mughal, but it sounds pretty mean to my not mud blood level. Obviously, that one's awful. In 1920s New York City, the president of America's Magic Society is a woman, which means that is a fanciful version of 1920s America is more progressive than actual 2016 cities fall. In fact, there are a lot of females in power in 1920s magic world. To some degree, it feels like the least realistic thing about entire film, but that's neither here nor there. He carries with us suitcases. In the suitcase is a whole house of fantastic beasts. Unfortunately, some of them escape. He has to find them. Ultimately, that is not what the movie is about. It's simply a way to get him entangled with the other Zanny character. Primarily two of them. Jacob, a gnoming who does not get man in black mind. Zabden so he falls along on a wild adventure, featuring magic and things, and Goldstein, and an ex-horror who brings in Mr. Scamander for causing problem, mostly by not many in the black mind zapping Mr. Some others are involved in various forms. Why can he magic without a wand? And why does no seem impressed by that ability? Why does he use a wand sometimes even he does not need one? Is it because he is dueling and he can only deflect magic with a wand? Someone just has shouted, take away his wand. Why? Would that impact him in any meaningful way? I have come to believe in large part thanks to film Great Hook that if you are only question something after the fact, then it does not ultimately matter. Many great films fall apart under close inspection, but in the moment you are too caught up to be noticed or care. And so the movie is successful. On the other hand, you think about the problems that mean the film has failed to keep my interest enough for me to not think about it. Had it well enough behind some sort of logic that can keep me going for 2 hours. Or both. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a little bit of both. I was constantly asking questions throughout the film in my head. I am not a monster, and previously none of them were answered. I am not going to not tell all here of you, but many of them boil down to weird. So, how does that work? Nowhere is it more problematic than with the film's actual conflict. It's wreaking havoc on the city. Who is it? How can they stop it? Newt Scamander might know it later, but no one knows the former. It's probably related to this creepy anti-witch cult that the films keep cutting back to. Because that's the only reason we would be spending so much time with them. Anyways, once things are revealed and we see the obscures at work, the whole thing kind of fall apart. Someone might be able to explain this using overly technical language that will confuse me into the thinking maybe it made sense. Another will say that it does not matter. This is for children. And it should stop being such a spoil sport. But really, I have so many questions relating to literally everything about it, and none of the answers I came up with are satisfying. The Harry Potter books have issue, but they are satisfying. The secretion is and do what you want them to do. Much of the time, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them does too. For example, is a great character, and pretty much every scene with him in it was at least good for not good. I don't know why I liked him so much, but he is probably my favorite character in any Harry Potter story. Maybe it's because he's a nomad, and I liked seeing how a non-magical person really reacts to all of the craziness. I do know he is a great. The actors in general are quite good. No more word. Wooden performances from children who were chosen before anyone knew if they could actually act. The dialogue written by J.K. Rowling herself is also fine. Many of my friends who did read Harry Potter and Nicholas Child complained that the dialogue was clearly not written by Rowling. So I expected they will enjoy this more. The pacing is off, and the movie is about 20 minutes to go long. Why those 20 minutes of match are scattered throughout and not in a big, boring chunk, and show some movement may drag. I like seeing the expansion of Harry Potter. I am glad that this is not another Harry Potter story. I like the idea of a series of spin-off. From the same reason, I am excited about all of the Star Wars stories that were not numbered episode. And for all of my issues with this first installment, there are definitely things to like, and the good outweighs and bad. If you can see past the massive gaps in logic and just say, the wizard did it, and the content that way, you may very well love Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. If you thought Harry Potter was dumb, this show as well known won't change your mind. But if you are a fan, even a last one, you should most certainly check it out. There is a wider placeholder feel to this fantasy adventure. A scene of keeping the risk to minimum, so as ensure as wide an audiences as possible. Comes out to be sport a new series of film. But like the Wizarding movie to which it's connected, Fantastic Beasts better than the darker it gets, especially in a robust final reel, where the film fully is its ride. Opening across most of the globe by November 18, this Warner Bros. Release will do major business, even with an entirely new cast separate from the Harry Potter series. And Colin Farrell brings star power, an advance buzz out to be convince viewer to take one more plunge into J.K. Rowling's world. Set in New York City, New York in 1926, the film kicks off Newt Scamander, a new studies magical creature, visiting the metropolis to complete a worldwide expedition for these fanciful beings. But after Newt crosses paths with Jacob, an ordinary human who belongs to be a baker, some of the creatures in Newt's suitcase get lost, forcing the two men to go on a citywide chase to retrieve them before the No-Maj realize there are powerful beings in their midst. Directed by David Yates, who helmed the final four Harry Potter movies. Fantastic Beasts has shared a visual palette with that earlier series. The film is impeccably crafted, and production designer Star Carrick has been given free rein to create a dazzling turn of the century, complete with the terrific art decorations throughout. Notably, this is the first time that Rowling, whose best-selling book launched the franchise, has written the screenplay, and she is not much introduced several central characters, but also established the reality of 1920s wizarding in America. Perhaps predictably 10 Fantastic Beasts. Spoilers are bite at beginning as we get our bearings and ascertain the different power structure in play. For instance, when Newt Beast escape, he draws the attention of China, a disgraced former dark art investigator who want to turn him in. Her sole man director of magical security Percival Graves accuses her of being in court with Newt sending them, and Jacob on the run where they will soon team up with China's mind-reading sister Queenie to retrieve Newt's creature. Even that description leaves out character who will impact the proceeding, especially once a mysterious impending force of pure energy start laying waste to part of the city. Clearly, yes, it's not just waving a tail, but also directing traffic, explaining this new universe so we can feel acclimated for future sequel. Fantastic Beasts' early section take too much time chronicling Newt and his friends attempting to track down the creature. leading to sequences which with superb visual effect, work but low on dramatic stake. And it is the action and light humor, the latter mostly provided by Chekhov's disbelieving shock at these magical people. Fantastic Beasts also manage some unified social commentary. Our heroes are not just battling dark forces, but also big story. There is a great fear of what no match will do once they uncover this utter realism of being earned for some character. The lingering trauma of childhood abuse. Rowling may not always deftly internalize all the different character and plots the trend, but she successfully pinpointed her story's emotional core. The performances are solid, if not stellar. Redman has a Greeky charm that's a perfect for Newt Scamander, but he drifts into a cuteness too often. Fogler is a bright road as a film's comic relief, while Waterstone is a calm, measured presence as a detective hunted by past filler. But Fantastic Beasts' spark comes from pseudo as if fetching, flirty Queenie, who's smitten by the sweetie Timer Jacob. A budding attraction between these two characters ends up forming the film's delicate heart, serving as a touching counterpoint to the impressive protagonists. This week, Harry Potter fans can return to the wizarding world in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The first installment of what will eventually be a five-film series, spanning 19 years of narrative drama, all directed by David Yates and written by J.K. Rowling. But will be to what a trip to theatre. The first reaction indicated that this was his perfect follow-up to Harry Potter, delivering a different kind of magic in a simultaneously familiar and refreshing fashion, thanks to a whole new roster of characters. Now the first is Fantastic Beasts, and where to find Team Revo aren't so far resulting in 100% Rotten Tomatoes. At the time of this writing, they probably won't last, and they seem to echo the first impression, but with some key pieces of criticism. I might be hard to top the beloved trio of heroes from the Potter movies, but in Fantastic Beasts, Rowling gives fans a virtue reading quartet in Newt, China, Queenie, and Jacob. They have great chemistry as a group and bring a charm to the movie. Redman applies his visual bashfulness to Newt in surprisingly delightful Gregory. Fogler's goofy, lovable. Jacob is sure to be a fan favorite, and he is the center of some of the film's best sequences. Fantastic Beasts is a good movie and offers a fun and inventive return to Rowling's A Wizarding World, but it could have been a better movie if I did not waste so much time setting up a new franchise. Much of the film being wizarding politics material will be appreciated mostly by those who thirst for over more backstory in Rowling's universe. It will be doubtless be useful as the franchise progresses. The main villain, Gellert Grindelwald, makes a kind of teasing appearance at the end that promises a long Voldemort-like story. Whether or not it assembles chemistry, ever clicks to the extent it did for Harry, Hermione and Ron. Rowling clearly has an endless supply of lore left to share with those invested in Harvard for an approach that might be more relevant to people who are not biggest Harry Potter fans. Here's a take from Mike Ryan over at Oprox. I never read the Harry Potter books and I enjoyed the movies well enough. So yes, I was one of those people who thought he might not be the target audience. A deep dive into what that was going on in this fictional universe across the nation. 50 some years before Harry Potter was even born. I enjoyed Fantastic Beasts. Some things more is needed. A bit more wit perhaps. Oh dear, I said. Some sexual tension. Very human. We are not dealing with children anymore. After all, but how one misses the cast of Hogwarts teacher and the rivals between the people. Why does Fantastic Beasts feel so oddly lifeless? Why does it cause more of a spell? First, there are the performances, which aside from Red Minds are surprisingly flat. And second, the thinness of the source material gives the whole film a slightly fading feeling. Rowling also wrote the script, nimbly lays out her world, But the world is not nearly as rich as the world of Hogwarts. While the crazy creatures are the highlight of the movie, they are not enough to recapture the magic of Harry's adventure at Hogwarts. The culprit is the dull directing style that does not allow the character to pop or the plot twists to excite like they should. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a fine jump, but it won't exactly sweep you up into New York City's wizarding. Fantastic Beasts declared the most satisfying period fantasy since Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd, but its layer of are what yielded one of the best Hollywood blockbusters of the year. Doctor Strange reaches greater height in terms of the effect, but falls short on story. Coming after a jarringly weak season of summer movies, it's an especially welcome year and treat. Chrissy Pushko over at Nedis admit she was skeptical about his new endeavor, but come to be surprised by it. This essential sensational spin-off not only feels like a fresh angle on the magical world we think we know so well, but also takes into account how the young adult who first found these books and movies have grown and may be craving sometime more sophisticated that they can share with their kids. Rowling slated the story in the nostalgic sex appeal of the 1920s, getting seen in Goblin Sons, draping characters in gorgeous glad rag by the incomparable Collier, and marinating the whole affair in an old Hollywood style affair, vibrant in Wednesday.